Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first session of Access Tel Aviv 2021, the mobility session. I'm Jason Weiss, COO and Deal Flow Manager. Really excited to be here with you all. Before I introduce our moderator, Jeremy Lustman, I'll just say a few words about the format of this session and the entire event. As you can see on my schedule, or if you've seen in our agenda, we have a fantastic lineup with panel sessions, startup pitches, keynote speakers, masterclasses. A lot is happening. The four main pitching sessions, which we are starting right now, are mobility, TMT, fintech and cybersecurity, and retail. Each of these sessions will last about 1 hour. The first part of it will be a short roundtable and introduction by the panelists, followed by startup pitches and Q&A. We have 13 really top Israeli startups that we have selected who will be presenting, sharing their pitch, followed by feedback from the investor panel. During this whole time, feel free to use the chat in the platform. It's in the bottom left. And you also can see we have specific chat rooms for each of these sessions. In addition to this, we have master classes and keynote speakers. All of this you can see in your schedule and the agenda there. So without further ado, I'm really excited to introduce Jeremy Lustman, partner at DLA Piper and head of Israel, and really a great partner of Access Innovation and one of our sponsors. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for supporting us, as you always do. And I'd like to pass the mic off to you to introduce yourself and start this session.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. Just a quick sound check. I know we did it beforehand, but just making sure. Can everyone hear me?
Great.
Okay, super. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where in the world you're logging in from. It's a pleasure to be with you and to spend some time. I wanted to thank Jason and Ed, two very close friends. We have tremendous admiration for Access. We've been partnering for years. Really admire their creativity, the growth of their business, the way that they're bringing so many people from around the world together and fostering the growth, funding, and development of so many companies. So really, it's a privilege to be with you today. Normally, mid-March, we would be welcoming all of you to Tel Aviv. I miss the fact that we're not sitting in the Paris Center right now overlooking the water in Jaffa, and we'll look forward, God willing, to hopefully as we trudge along and hopefully see the light at the end of the tunnel, or closer to the end of the tunnel, I hope, we can resume being in person soon. So as Jason mentioned, my name's Jeremy Lustman. I'm a partner with DLA Piper. I've been with the firm for about 17 years. I head up our Israel practice. I started it about 12 years ago, based in Tel Aviv. And my team really serves as the focal point between Israeli technology companies and their development around the world, whether that be funding and transactional growth, whether it's their day-to-day development and expansion around the world. And we've had the real privilege over the years of working with a lot of Israeli companies as they expand internationally, but also just as importantly, working with a lot of our friends outside of Israel who are looking to come into the market and penetrate the ecosystem, which thankfully is tremendous and has grown quite dramatically. As Jason mentioned, we have some time this morning to focus on the topic of mobility, which is more important than ever when you think about the trends within the industry. There's tremendous activity. We think about M&A growth. We think about the explosiveness of the capital markets and how many mobility companies have tapped the capital markets within the last period of time. I mean, who would have thought that a COVID era would see such growth in transactional activity, but that's what we've seen. There's, obviously EV growth and dramatically turning the industry around when we think about L3 and L4 autonomy, thinking about micro mobility, connected cars, et cetera. There is so much to talk about, and obviously there's a lot of strategy at play. There are a lot of companies that are trying to understand from the experts that we have here today what is making them tick? Which strategy are they thinking through? What's changed in the company perhaps over the last year or so? And just to have a conversation touching upon those points. As Jason mentioned, our roundtable component is short. We'll just touch upon a few questions. All of us here in the audience are more importantly interested to hear from the experts to learn a little bit more about your background, your company, the points sort of at the top of your list in 2021, and then we'll go into a short discussion, and then we'll have the privilege of hearing from a couple of carefully selected, wonderful emerging companies that will certainly benefit from the guidance of our experts. So I'll quickly introduce our panel, and then I'll turn it over to each of them for just a couple of words of introduction. We have François, Paulus, and I know I'm sure I will mess up some of the names, so apologies in advance for my mispronunciation. But we have François, who's a founding partner at Breega Capital. Breega is a fund that began in 2013, provides financing to real mentoring, really bringing tremendous expertise to the ecosystem of the companies that they support. Breega is a short name for the tag phrase of bridging the equity and experience gap, which I thought was awesome and just a great way of capturing expertise and investment together with real guidance and mentorship. We have Jerome Wittamer, who's a managing partner at Expon Capital, based in Luxembourg. Expon backs both early and late stage companies all over the world. We have Naoki, who's a partner at Global Brains, based in Japan. Global Brains not only invests directly, but they also serve as a portal and as a resource for a lot of CVCs in the market and helping manage their investment portfolio. We have Scott Lyons, who's with Ford, based in Germany. Ford obviously needs no introduction. I know Ford has had a long-standing relationship with Axis, and Ford certainly has been out in front in terms of the Israeli technology ecosystem and other ecosystems around the world. So it's a privilege to welcome Scott. We have Tanja Kufner from Antler in Germany, which is a global early stage VC. They've helped build a number of companies from scratch and getting them from, as they say, from zero to seed within 6 months. And we have Paola Garzonio, who's with Stellantis and is based in Italy. Stellantis is the combined company from the recent merger of Fiat Chrysler and Group A within the last couple of months. So it's a real privilege to welcome such an astute and accomplished panel. Maybe I'll just ask everyone to go around, introduce yourself. Again, your role, company, what your focus vis-a-vis the emerging company ecosystem is, and then we'll go from there. So why don't we start with François?
Yes, hello. Thanks, Jeremy, for the introduction, and the spelling was perfect for my name, so thanks. Yeah, I'm François Paulus. I'm a co-founding partner of Breega, and we are a venture capital fund founded 7 years ago. We do mostly seed and Series A, and we have today about 260 million euros under management. And I just wanted to take a couple of examples of startups that we founded that are in the scope of today's panel. For example, we have founded UDelv in California, which is an autonomous delivery vehicle company. So we can discuss that later on if you want. We have founded another company called iLights, which I call the ways of the biker. So you have a head-up display on a nano OLED screen in front of your eye, which is fantastic. The guy who founded that used to be in the army, and so he's very good at good electronic stuff. And now we also propose it in the car to be on the windshield of the car. And the last example I wanted to take is Station E, which is engineering and deploying a new generation of electric charging station, and they couple that with 4G, 5G antennas. So it allows you to have some revenue on electric charging of cars and some revenue from the telco, which I think is very clever. With that, I pass it on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Jerome?
Hello, Jeremy. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me this morning. You copy? That's all good on your end? Okay, wonderful. So I'm Jerome Wittamer. I'm one of the 4 founding partners of Expon Capital. We're a venture capital firm based in Luxembourg. And what we do is invest with a higher purpose. We invest in companies from pre-series A to late stage. And what we do is back ambitious teams with bold ideas and exponential genes to solve hard, valuable problems for global impact. And what it means for us is addressing one or more of the 17 United Nations SDGs. So we look for highly disruptive breakthroughs and deep tech, but we don't only do that. And we're invested also in the micromobility space, where we financed a European company called DOT, that is one of the leading micromobility operators in Europe. They operate in London, Paris, and Lyons, which are the top 4 largest market in the world for micromobility. Tel Aviv being one of being in the top 3. So that's it for me.
Okay, Naoki.
Thank you, Jeremy, and thank you everyone for joining this session. So let me introduce myself. So my name is Naoki. I'm partner at Global Brain. Global Brain is one of the largest species in Japan. So then we invest in now almost all sectors, but in Europe and Israel, we are more focused on deep tech, fintech, and insurtech. And we are headquartered in Tokyo, but we also have offices in Seoul, Korea, Singapore, Jakarta, Indonesia, San Francisco, and London. So then actually I'm sitting on London office, and I'm heading our Europe and Israel activities. So then as Jeremy introduced, once we invest, we always would like to be a gateway for startups to come to Asia and Japan. And also we are managing several CVC funds as well. So then we are focused on early stage startups, Series A, Series B mainly. Then in Europe and Israel, actually strategically, we chose not to lead. So always we participate in the syndicate with local or global VCs. So then, so we are focused on, of course, mobility smart city domains, and we have several portfolio in, of course, in US and in Europe. And then, for example, in London, so recently we invested in startups called Humanizing Autonomy. So Humanizing Autonomy is developing kind of trying to combine computer vision with behavioral psychology to predict a human intent. So that's one of our portfolio startups. And also another one I'd like to mention here is Immense Simulations, so which is developing actually a simulation as a platform. So then users can easily spin out kind of city simulators just with several clicks. Then you can simulate congestion or people movement and so on, that kind of things. So those ones we are really interested. So thank you very much. That's it.
Great, thank you. Let's go over to Scott.
Sure. Thank you, Jeremy. Good morning from a little cold Berlin, hence the outfit. So yeah, so basically I feel a little bit alone here. Of course, I'm not a VC. I'm not responsible for making investment decisions on behalf of Ford, but what my group is responsible for and the tech partnerships team is globally, obviously Ford consumes a lot of and needs a lot of services and experiences that we need to deliver to our customers globally. So actually back in 2015, I co-founded our startup program, which we do host every year with Axis, called Make It Drivable. And we use this as kind of a platform to identify companies pretty much worldwide that we actually want to work with. So frankly, what we're looking for is obviously a route to market. There obviously may be, of course, some opportunity for investment, but ultimately I think a lot of companies are really looking for how do we get our solution into vehicles, into customers' hands. And that's really where my group plays a big role. So I look forward to hearing what some of the startups have to pitch today. So back over to you, Jeremy.
Great, thanks, Scott. Let's move over to Tanja.
Hello, good morning. I'm supposed to be in cold Berlin with Scott, but I'm actually dialing in from Vienna. It's lovely to be here. My name's Tanja. I've been a VC and investor for various different kinds of funds since 1997. I've been around for a while. I've seen a lot of the bubbles come and go. I ran the first mobility accelerator, transport and energy in Berlin for 3 years. I looked for startups basically to try to do pilots with my corporate clients that were sponsoring the accelerator program. And then most recently moved to a consulting firm. I became partner at a company called MHP. I wanted to solve the problem that I found that most of our automotive clients in tier 1 and tier 2s loved looking at a lot of technologies, but at an early stage, it was basically virtually impossible to get the technology integrated into the tech stack, right? For an IoT company to be in the production line. And I wanted to solve that and basically create a fund around it, but for corporate governance reasons, I couldn't transact. So I kind of gave up on the investing model, which is a real shame because I would love to invest in more early stage mobility startups. So most recently, I've been focusing on spending the European Commission money. So I am on the expert advisory team, and I've done basically 5 investment rounds on the sector of transport, automotive, and especially energy. So lovely to be here and can't wait to see the pitches.
That's great. Thank you. Welcome. And last but not least, let's turn it over to Paola.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good morning, everybody, and thank you to Axis for this very interesting opportunity. So, my name is Paola Garzonio. I am in charge of technology scouting globally within the Stellantis organization. This team and this process was put in place, I would say, more or less 1 year ago. I am from the former FCA organization. Basically, what we do, our mission is to find new opportunities in terms of advanced technologies and potentially new partners in order to support, of course, Stellantis strategy, the brand's needs, but in a more practical way, if you want, we support the advanced technologies community, and we try to find the matches to our master plan of projects of innovation in the field of advanced technologies and new features. We have a global team with several people located in the different location and country where we have R&D offices at Stellantis. And I can say that with the new Stellantis organization, this kind of a process will be even reinforced and in a wider, if you want, scope, because I mean, our process of scouting will be also focused on new business opportunities. Thank you.
Great. So we just have a few minutes for a very short conversation. What I'd like to do is I just have two topics, and I think we'll just run around the horn just for a quick reaction, maybe a minute for each of you on 2 topics. The first is COVID generally. Obviously, again, we're in the context of COVID. Hopefully, we're coming out of it, but COVID has certainly, I think, affected all of our businesses, not only operationally in terms of our day-to-day, but for many of us, strategy. You know, it's caused us to take a step back and rethink priorities, to sort of observe the dynamics, the changed dynamics in the world that we're in, and certainly in the world of mobility. It's been a year where, you know, virtually everyone stayed at home. The mobility itself, public transport in many countries, cities, was completely stopped. People weren't going out and buying cars as much, and if they were for the most part staying in driveways, etc. And when we think about different features that have become the hallmark of the car, you know, traditionally maybe it was safety, security, entertainment, and many others. Now, when we think about hygiene and cleanliness, etc., you know, there are definitely changed priorities within the mobility industry. And I think it would just be helpful to hear from each of you how COVID has affected your mantra, either operationally, maybe it's changed your investment thesis in terms of who you're funding, what types of companies you're looking for, but maybe just a quick word from each of you on how COVID has affected your day-to-day operations. Why don't we start with Paola?
Okay, yes, from an operational and day-by-day point of view, of course, this has affected each of us because we all started to work in a smart way or with remote working. I think that this, I mean, all of us understood the value of this way to work, and also maybe the fact that in the past we went too far in setting up, in holding meetings with a lot of people coming from different countries. I think that possibly in the future this will change. Probably we won't come back 100% as we were before COVID, and maybe we will try to find a new normal way to work in order to find the right balance among presence and very smart, in this way we can define the very smart working way. This is from an operational point of view. Regarding technologies and how this would affect and will affect the technologies scouting, I can say that, of course, many topics related to health, well-being in general, and then, as you mentioned before, of course, topics related to sanitization, to air quality, so in terms of sciencing, in terms of treatment, and also surfaces treatments became very, very important for sure. Even before COVID, these topics were, I mean, very important, but nowadays are fundamental, I would say.
Sure, sure. Okay, Scott.
Sure. Yeah. So obviously, like Paola, we of course are a global organization, and we've had some challenges. However, I would say COVID has presented an opportunity in the fact that obviously everyone is more focused now. Of course, when you're working from home, it's easier to get in touch with people. It's easier to get access to people who are perhaps not sitting on a plane or obviously, you know, roaming around the hallways in the office. So we've actually managed last year to, I would say, accelerate a lot of the plans that we had. In particular, for example, we announced our relationship and our partnership with Google, which I don't think we would have been able to do in the time frame that we were able to get that deal done in. I myself did 20 contracts last year with, you know, bringing in new experiences and partnerships into our vehicles. That's not normal. Normally, of course, we don't have access to do those things. The other thing I would say is, looking at the consumer side, we actually can't keep vehicles on the dealer lots because people are coming and buying them. So the funny thing is, particularly, for example, in the UK, you cannot for love or money find a transit van because they're all sold out. Obviously, that has a combination to do with, of course, the chip shortage that everyone is experiencing to a certain extent, but also what we're seeing is that people are actually upgrading their vehicles. They want more fuel efficient, they want electric, and they also want to be able to take advantage of, you know, obviously all the different opportunities that are presenting themselves, in particular, I think, on the on the commercial vehicle side. So we're very bullish, I think, on where things are projecting to go. And I think, you know, obviously we need to make the best of what COVID has delivered for us. So inevitably, while I would certainly not want to do COVID again, I think we've managed to take advantage of what COVID has delivered and to kind of be stronger for that. So we'll have to see where it goes.
Right. I say that often, that, you know, none of us would want to have experienced the year that we've had, but recognizing the silver linings, recognizing the opportunities that it presents to connect with people, to actually, exactly like you said, Scott, I think in such a great way, to be even more focused and to have more connectivity with your team, and you know, you know, to perform so in such a strong way given the year that we've had. I think that's definitely a real positive. François, why don't we hear your thoughts, and then I'll ask the second quick question for the other three panelists, and then we'll move to the startup presentations.
Yes, thanks. As far as business is concerned, to be honest, it's not been very difficult because we are a VC fund and we invest mostly in tech and digital companies. So first of all, our portfolio companies, most of them did very good. Those who did not very good were like in a consumer to consumer, and the consumers needed to physically meet or stuff like that. And of course, that was tough, like in resale of old cars or stuff like that. But apart from that, the portfolio companies were good. We managed to continue the investments. So that's professional wise, that was okay. Now the funny thing is, you were mentioning hygiene. When we did come back to work, as maybe many people around Paris, I tended to avoid public transportation because of hygiene reasons, and so I took more and more my personal car, which I know is not very fashionable, but it's an electric car, I have to say. And so I was thinking in terms of today, well, I'm dying for when are we going to have I dream of is like the fully autonomous vehicle that can pick me up in the morning, but either it's my car or not my car, I don't know, but pick me up in the morning, bring me to work, and in the meantime I can do whatever I want, phone call, reading, sleeping, stuff like that. So I hope we'll talk about that later in the panel.
Wonderful. The last point that I'd just like for us to touch upon is the idea of micro-mobility and convergence. I think when I think about transportation and mobility, oftentimes you would think about the different modes of transportation in very different separate ways. And I feel that what's changed a lot in the industry is the convergence and the idea that you can have a smorgasbord of each of them in connection with your modes of transportation. You can drive in an EV to get to point X, and then you can have a last mile opportunity to get on a bike or a scooter or whatnot. The connectivity, I would say, between public transport and private transport has grown significantly when we think about the Movits of the world and others, and the technology that car manufacturers are recognizing. Okay, someone is on their commute and they're going to be driving now to catch a bus, and them wanting to stay on top of the scheduling and planning, et cetera, et cetera. So, we've seen it a lot in the logistics business when we think about Amazon and others and all of these last mile warehouses and I would say the segmentation of delivery. I feel that a lot of that has moved into the world of transport and mobility. So just thought it would be a helpful, quick topic to hear thoughts on from Naoki, Jerome, and Tanja. Why don't we start with Naoki?
Just a moment. Okay, sorry. So as Jerome mentioned, Jeremy mentioned, of course, now some mobility industry is shifting drastically. Then I think each mobility is more connected. Then actually, so that trend in this industry is so previously people own things in mobility, and people tend to stick with double mobility. But now, so as other kind of mobility, all mobility is kind of connected each other. So I think more kind of we would kind of be shifting to subscribe these things. So now ownership, usership is more important than ownership. So then how we interact with things is changing. So that's why we need to keep this in our mind and then look for what kind of new opportunities and innovation would come up in this domain. So that's kind of my interest at this moment.
Thank you. Jerome?
Yeah, I concur with what you said in terms of the convergence and the conversation we have with cities, big cities like Paris or London. Clearly, what's at the top of the agenda is the provision of solutions to the population of not only unimodal or one type of transportation, but really a full range of solutions that cater to each and every need and in a sustainable way. So that's really being pushed to the very top of the agenda of cities. So we still pursuing the other side of the conversation, that is talking with the operators themselves, like that. They absolutely also agree with the fact that this is where the industry is going. So I don't think there's any doubt, and ultimately I think we'll end up with as an element of the whole package what François was saying, and and having, you know, everything on demand, including the vehicle that comes at, you know, at your door. So can't wait for that.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, but Tanja, if we can have a few words from you, and then we do need to move to the startup presentations.
Tanja, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I had connectivity issues, so I missed the question, but I would imagine it's something to do with what the coolest trends are in micromobility, something along those lines?
Yeah, just convergence within micromobility, your perspectives on convergence, different modes of transportation kind of coming together, private versus public, last mile within micromobility, just your perspectives within the industry on that.
Yeah, I think we need to move to the startup pitches. I don't want to, but I think basically everything's been said. My vision is, and I think this is happening slowly, the OEMs are trying, at least the German ones, very slowly to integrate more multimodality into the apps, right? This is a clear signal. This is where the consumer wants to go. I believe this is my vision, that I want different modes of transport for different times of the day, and they should be OEM, also unabhängig, like not with the OEM. So whatever it is that I need at this particular moment, it's what I want to use, ideally on one app. And I see that. I think that's where the trend is going.
Great. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move into the startup presentations. We have three wonderful presentations. We're going to start with EVR. EVR has invented, and from EVR we have the privilege of welcoming Ofer and Ophir Doron and Ophir Meir. EVR has invented TSRF, disruptive motor topology, and it's set to become a major player in the EV motor ecosystem. They're based here in Israel. They've received recent funding rounds, really a star in the market, and it's a real privilege to welcome Ofer and Ophir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you, Axis, for hosting this wonderful event. And presuming you can see my screen, I will start with the presentation. Yes, you can see it. Okay, thank you very much. So, electric motor technology has barely changed in decades, and EVR is set about reimagining the way we build electric motors. We've developed a unique topology. We call it a trapezoidal stator radial flux permanent magnet motor. We've taken the traditional design of a radial flux motor, which is the most popular motor out there, and changed it quite significantly so that we get much more power and much more torque out of a given motor. Or in other words, we can make it much, much smaller and much, much lighter than traditional motors are. Because they're smaller and lighter, there's also less material in them, so they're cheaper to build. And the production costs themselves are also lower because the assembly process is simpler than a traditional motor. We can tailor this topology to a wide variety of different motors, different voltages, different sizes, different powers, different torque, different RPMs, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a topology. It's not a specific design of a motor. And in some cases, because we're so much smaller and lighter, then we take advantage of that and put in ferrite magnets instead of neodymium magnets. So we're rare earth free. And there we compete against not the traditional radial flux motors, but against induction motors, which are quite popular in some cases where they want rare earth free. So we improve the performance of motors while keeping the main advantages of the radial flux topology. After several years of hard work, we've managed to develop a fantastically successful prototype, which is under testing right now. The first one is for two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and small four-wheelers in Asian markets. And from a about 10 kilogram, 2-liter sized motor, so you can see it here next to the cell phone, we're getting about 12 to 13 kilowatts, over 30 Newton meters of torque, and this is all from an air-cooled 96-volt motor. We've got variants of this motor already in construction with very minor changes between them that work at different voltages that go with liquid cooling, different magnets, different coils, etc. So you can have a wide range of different motor performances from basically the same investment in one motor. And the results we have from testing put us at about half the size and tens of % smaller than a wide range of conventional radial flux motors that we have out there. We're targeting at first stage 2- and 3-wheelers for the Asian and European markets, possibly also the US, and moving quite quickly after that, we've got plans for that, into passenger and light commercial vehicles, both full EVs, hybrids, and also mild hybrids. And we'll probably be moving on after that to the larger and heavier vehicles as well. Our business model is to team mostly with the large motor manufacturers, the tier 1s and the OEMs themselves, who want to build their own motors and we believe will like our design quite a bit. And so we will work with them to design motors to their requirements based on our topology, and then license them to manufacture those motors on a royalty basis. For those customers who don't want to build their own motors, we'll be designing motors both from our understanding of the market and to specific requirements we get from them, and then manufacturing them together with partners and delivering them to the users. EVR was founded in 2012 by 3 founders, originally to develop generators for wind turbines. And in 2018, 2019, underwent a very significant turnaround with a shift to automotive motors, a host of new investors from Israel, but not only. New management, myself included. My background, I spent many years in the Navy. I'm a reserve Navy admiral, and over the last 9 years, I was general manager of the space division at Israel Aerospace Industries, where I was in charge of development, production, launch, and operation of a host of communication and observation satellites, and led the Israeli team to the moon with Bereshit lunar lander. We've grown our technical team from 4 or 5 people initially to about almost 20 people now, including 3 PhDs, all of them with large industry experience, or almost all of them with large industry experience. We had our first automotive contract with a tier 1 in 2019. We've raised $5.5 million in seed funding over the years, 4.5 of them over the last 2 years. And we are planning, based on the success of our prototype and discussions we have with a large number of potential partners, we're planning around quite soon in 2021. And so I'd be very, very happy to speak to many of you as we go along during the day or in the coming days. Thank you very, very much for your patience, and I would be happy to have any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Great, great. Thanks, Ofer. Panelists, any questions, comments?
That was simple.
Maybe just one question. I understood my question, in fact, was in relationship to the business model, but you already presented it. Just one thing, if you can say, are you in contact currently with some tier 1, or it's something you are going to build in the next future?
We are in discussions and have been in discussions with several tier 1s, several OEMs. There's a lot of interest out there. We sort of put it on hold for a while as we were finalizing our prototype. I think, as many startups, we had some less successful times along the way. And now that the prototype is extremely successful beyond our expectations, we're restarting conversations with a large number of contacts we have in the OEM and tier 1 community.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Nope. Okay. Well, Ofer and Ophir, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation, and really appreciate it and look forward to connecting again very soon.
Thank you very much.
All right. We're going to move over to David Grun from Realspections. Realspections is a disruptive venture that was created based on extensive experience in providing technological solutions to the automotive industry, the development of visual technologies in particular. One thing that caught my eye was just Realspections automatically detects dents, scratches, color changes, and bumps And I think all of us can very much relate to the tension and anxiety when we take out a rental vehicle, when we would return one, when there's, God forbid, an accident and insurance comes out, and figuring out who's at fault and what was there, what wasn't there. And it sounds like Realspections has a great technology that will add tremendous value to the industry. So we're going to turn over to David for his presentation and then some Q&A.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Thank you for this introduction, and it's great to be here at Axis Tel Aviv. Let me join and share the presentation. Here we go, hopefully. Do you see my screen? No? Okay. It's a bit slow. Okay, you see my screen now? Thank you. So good morning. My name is David Grun, and I'm the co-founder of Spinframe Technologies together with Ori Dango. Do you remember that guy checking your rental car with a mobile device last time you came back from a business trip? Now imagine he had to do the same for dozens of cars per hour and with 0 errors. This is typically what is needed at the large vehicle logistic hubs, and because no one is superhuman, it just doesn't work. Vehicles go through inspection
David,
points.
sorry to interrupt you. I don't think
Yes.
we see your presentation. Panelists, do you see his presentation?
You don't?
No,
Okay,
we
can
don't.
you try and reshare again? Okay, David, try and reshare again. If not, then we'll go to Asaf and we'll come back to you.
Okay. You see it now?
No.
See my
No,
presentation now?
we can't see.
They see?
So David, let me try and get the presentation up myself. And Asaf, are you there? Do you want to give your pitch now? And we'll come back to you, David.
Okay, no problem.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, Jason, that was for me.
Asaf.
I'm ready to go. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay,
Jason.
great. So we will come back to you, David. Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'd like to welcome Asaf Aloni, CMO of Continual. Continual provides connected car manufacturers and mobile network operators with a unique tool set for analyzing and improving the connected journey experience. Continual analyzes voice and data usage patterns for all subscribers 24/7. It flags adverse network experiences that affect subscribers in connected vehicles. It uses a combination of AI and advanced machine learning that it correlates, and really has been a great success story. Had a funding round back in late 2019, has grown very nicely over the last couple of years, and it's a privilege to welcome Asaf. Asaf, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'll be speaking about our platform for analyzing mobility experience. Giving you a little direction, taking it from Justin's words just an hour ago. So there is a revolution out there. Mobility is really evolving, and the in-car connectivity is something that is of a very strong pillar in that whole revolution. So you're seeing here, for example, Tesla, just like other car manufacturers, other car brands, just literally redefining what the passenger and the driver experience would be like in the car as far as it rides on the mobile network connectivity, and a lot of such capabilities you're seeing here, both on the screens of the Tesla drivers, but also on the autonomous vehicle approach that has quite tight dependency on what the mobile network can afford. And that is actually the challenge, and that is also the opportunity, because you're seeing here, for example, out of a very simple measurement we did with Vodafone, with carriers out there, we're seeing fluctuating network qualities. This is about throughputs and rates. In this case, it could be about the latency. It could be about actually disconnecting or coverage that is lacking. All of that is something that has the mobile operators as well as the car OEMs, simply not taking the mobile network quality on the roads for granted. And this is exactly what Continual does. It offers the carriers that are right now busy deploying 5G for the sake of improving car connectivities and other use cases. We're helping them to provide the best network for mobility and deliver the best services in as great shape as the experiences that you're having when you're in your office or at home. And at the same time, we're also offering the car manufacturers, whether busy delivering connectivity inside cars for connected cars, and a few years down the road for the different levels of autonomous driving, we're helping them to deliver perfect experience and actually features as advertised in their own websites and through their own channels. We've had traction. I think you mentioned that before. So we've had pretty good traction and pretty good decent sizes of operators that have already signed up to our platform. You're seeing here below the T-Mobile operation in the United States. We have a nationwide deployment there. We analyze just enormous amounts of data of the subscriber base, of the cars that are on the T-Mobile network. We analyze millions of miles along the entire US road and highway networks. And we're analyzing that to detect where performance of the network could be improved for T-Mobile and helping them get more business. And at the same time, we've also signed a very, very substantial deal with the Vodafone group, which is already rolled out to different markets. And Vodafone is pretty much doing the same with us, monitoring the state of the roads in each operating market that is onboarded the platform. And we're helping them to improve the performance there. So we have a decent, substantial footprint in the largest markets, whether it is for improving the lives of the subscribers or the connected car opportunities. You're seeing here the Germany market, you're seeing the UK market, and you're seeing just a snapshot of out of the entire US market. We are mapping that, and we're on a mission to actually map the whole road and highway system globally. So a bit about Continual, having said what we are delivering.
1 minute left.
1 minute, thank you. So we have started with network analytics and optimization a few years ago. In 2018, we realized that mobility is the challenge. This is the next thing. Mobility data will simply pour in, and there's not enough tools and capacity and technologies to let these potentials be realized for the connected car and the subscribers on the move opportunities. And we have developed the technology around measuring those road qualities. We're now at the process of expanding globally. This is why we're here also and looking for the next investment. We have already had 15 million invested in seed and also 2 rounds of financing. And the future is very bright from 2024 onwards. This is all about connected data market size. Our team is quite experienced, very engineering, with engineering background, but just at the same time entrepreneurial. And this is our summary slide, my summary slide here, highlighting a few technology and business, and letting you know that we're here to actually see about opportunities to get additional funding.
Thank you, Asaf.
Thank you.
Thank you, Asaf. Appreciate it. That was an awesome presentation. We only have 2-3 minutes for Q&A. Panelists, any questions, comments, reflections?
Sure. Yeah, so I have a question. Thank you, Asaf. I'm familiar with this type of solution. I've seen some presentations before. So I guess what I'm curious about is, obviously from an OEM's perspective, you know, let's say if we have a relationship with Vodafone who are providing us with our connectivity, do we need to have a relationship with you as well, or obviously is Vodafone, you know, kind of extending this experience to us as one of their obviously customers? So that's wasn't clear to me in terms of where that direct relationship sits.
And rightfully so, Scott. So our go-to-market is actually with the carriers, with the Vodafones themselves. Luckily, their footprint is enough to get us to get our technology through them in front of the operators. So we're selling to the operators. They're extending these insights in multiple shapes or forms to you guys and to any car manufacturer and OEM, and even to other automotive players. It's through the carriers.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. In the future, with a fully autonomous vehicle, as we all know, lives will be at stake. So when do you foresee that the telco will be able to take commitments and have penalties if they don't respect, I don't know, latency or throughput or whatever?
So François, I have actually, I have two quick answers for you about that. So Germany is already, when Germany auctioned the 5G spectrum, they literally put in the bid stipulations for this and that amount of throughputs and latencies on this and that grade of highways, autobahns, etc. So this is starting to be regulated with penalties also. Whether they will apply the penalties or not, this is a different question, but it is already getting regulated in the advanced markets. And I can tell you that with the OEMs themselves, it's not really all the way from 0 to 100%. There's different levels of autonomous driving. A manufacturer that we worked with develops the level 3, which is intermediary. It hands off control from the car to the driver and back and forth, depending on certain triggers. One of those triggers was, can the network afford full control of the car in the miles ahead of the journey? So this is the connect point where we and the carrier and the OEM, this is a European OEM, connected to measure and research what network implications are on autonomous. The short message is, it's not binary 0 or 1. There's also intermediary levels of autonomous driving there. And it's up to the carriers and the manufacturers to actually go about what they can do with the afforded network.
Great, thank you, Asaf. We're gonna end it there. It was a great presentation. Thank you for joining, and we're gonna turn it back over to David at Realspections for his presentation.
Good. So can you see my screen now?
Yes, we do.
Great.
Yes, we see your presentation. Fantastic.
Good. Just a moment. I'm going to turn it into presenters mode. It's a bit slow. Okay.
Perfect, David. Go ahead. We see it well.
Okay, good morning again. My name is David Grün, and I'm the founder of SpinFrame Technologies together with Ori Dango. Do you remember that guy checking your rental car with a mobile device last time you came back from a business trip? Now, imagine you had to do the same for dozens of cars per hour and with 0 errors. This is typically what is needed at large vehicle logistic hubs. And because no one is superhuman, it just doesn't work. Vehicles go through inspection points over 3 billion times a year. Most of these times, damaged inspection is made by a person with mistakes when not simply overlooked for lack of a systematic scalable solution. This is costing billions of dollars to the industry per year. This is why we have created Realspections, the ultimate solution for real-time vehicle damage tracking, which was already adopted by major players in the industry. Our mission is to instill trust across all the handover points of the vehicle supply chain. So how do we do it? We have developed flexible stations that can be deployed at any gateway. Just a moment. Okay. You can't see a video, right? Okay, so let's go. The vehicle drives through at up to 35 kilometers per hour. The system captures a 360-degree snapshot of the physical condition of the vehicle. Our AI technology identifies up to the smallest dent, scratch, or scuff, and the vehicle visual status is instantly updated in our web-based platform. Our approach is to use just enough hardware so as to automatically capture vehicles in an optimal way while remaining truly plug and play. Using the same approach and underlying technology, we developed various applications in order to better suit every use case. Have a look, for instance, at our system operating at the port of Ashdod. Our goal here is to inspect the 150,000 vehicles disembarking every year. We embedded our system in a cargo container that is patented to make it easier to move within the port and beyond. We are currently focusing on 3 major verticals: shipping, operation centers, and large rentals, totalizing an over $10 billion market opportunity. Our patent-pending technology is based on 2 components: a sophisticated camera orchestration system and a multi-stage analysis based on AI algorithms. This allows us to make the most from off-the-shelf cameras, and it enables us to deploy seamlessly with high accurate systems in less than an hour. Realspections is therefore highly scalable, unlike the other available heavy stations, and better adapted to large flows than mobile-based solutions. Looking at our revenue plan, our subscription-based model ensures 40,000 annual revenue per unit, with recurring revenues which are higher than 70%. We are moving fast. Our product is being installed for major use cases, such as at Aviv Israel, where we capture 30,000 vehicles a year. We are conducting a strategic POC with the Port of Ashdod, which is partly financed by the Israel Innovative Authority. And we have recently started a POC with the after-sales division of one of the largest global car makers in Germany. Furthermore, we have signed further MOUs with US and Spanish companies. We are seeking $5 million in order to help us make every handover point smarter but faster. To sum it up, Realspections is here to enable every gateway with high-quality damage detection capabilities. Our patent-pending technology enables to handle for large vehicle flows with a plug-and-play, just-enough hardware solution. We have accelerating traction with our focus verticals, and we are looking to raise $5 million to support that growth. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you. That was a great presentation, and really kudos for your traction and your growth, and really great job. We have just time for a minute or two for any reactions, questions, and anyone want to chime in? Jerome, it looks like.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, David.
I would love to. I'd love to jump in. My question would be, can you please elaborate on the competitive advantage, because there's so many AI inspection companies out there. I didn't understand what makes you better to the competition.
David, could you close your screen? Share, close your.
Okay, yeah.
There we go.
Okay. So basically what we are focusing on is the right combination between the hardware and the software. Our solution is basically, our general approach is just enough hardware. So we're combining the right orchestration of the triggering the camera, so we can basically capture the vehicle 360 degrees. With hardware that is affordable, so scalable, so you can actually have systems and not just that can be deployed at many gateways, and which makes it able to take care of large flows of vehicles, which is very difficult to handle with mobile solutions. And on the other hand, from the heavy stations, which are usually costing tens of thousands of dollars, and even cost per use are relatively high, we are providing a solution that can basically be deployed in many gateways, in many different use cases, and also multiple in actually the same locations due to its affordability. Is that answering your question?
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Jerome, did you want to have the last word?
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, David, what is the business case? What's the payback time? Why choose your solution over other solutions, or just what's being done today?
Right. So today we are basically going after the large groups that have a lot of different sites, which can need to work on many cars per location. So we are talking about, if we're talking about operational sites, for instance, we're talking about the dealerships or the workshops of large groups of companies, and we are as well talking about the large flow settlements of rental car companies, for instance. Our go-to-market is to create a distribution network, so that we are basically having the experts and the contacts in the different markets, which we are leveraging basically as we speak in all of the main markets which we are currently targeting.
Thank you, David. This is Jason again. We do have to wrap up now because we are starting our next sessions. So I want to say thank you to David. Thank you to Jeremy Lustman for moderating this session. Thank you to our panelists, Naoki, Paola, Jerome, Tanja, and Scott. So thank you, everybody, so much, and François, of course. Now, our next on the agenda, you can go back to my schedule and you will see we have a fantastic masterclass by Nikolai from Matchmaker Ventures, which works with startups to help them scale in Europe and beyond, all about how to scale in SaaS and other models. Really, really exciting session, whether you're a startup investor or part of the ecosystem. And for the people of this session, you also have a special link to the backstage. So as soon as we finish this, click on your backstage link and I will see you there. And at 12 o'clock, we have our keynote presentation by Ola Kalenius, the CEO of Daimler and Mercedes-Benz. See you all soon in the next session.
Thanks, everyone.